Hey everyone, so today I'm going through how to print out and put together the sewing pattern and also cut out your item with it. So you're going to need your pattern printed out. It needs to be printed to 100% scale on either A4 paper, just make sure you use the A4 file, or US letter paper for all of my American people. Just make sure you use the US letter file. Now when you print it out, you just want to check the scale up in this top corner. I've put a 5 centimeter line. So we just need to check that that lines up, and it does, which means it's printed to scale. Now every page has a set of letters on it. So A1, A2, etc. So it goes A1, A2, A3, A4, B1, B2, B3, etc. Now, not every single pattern is going to use every page. You might have like a A1 to A4, and then B1 to B6, or C1 to C3, for example. So just put it all together, and then you should see that your pattern pieces do line up, and you have everything. So yeah, don't worry too much if it seems like there might be a page missing. So we're going to need the pattern, scissors, or I'm using my rotary cutter, and sticky tape. So I have run out of regular sticky tape, so I'm just going to be using this blue one, but it's all the same. So I'm going to go A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, B1, B2, B3, B4, and B5. So this one is the off-shoulder top, only 10 pages. If you get a jumpsuit, for example, obviously it's going to be many more pages. Now you can see we have borders that we need to cut off. You can go around and cut off all the borders if you want, but something that saves time is in each pair, like each 2 pages that are going to be stuck together, you only need to cut off one of the borders. So if I've just cut off this one, I can place it on top of the other one and tape it in place. I don't actually have to cut off both. But completely optional, you can cut off all the borders if you prefer that. So I'm going to do this whole line here. Now I'm going to cut off this whole top border. Do the same steps for this side as well. Now I'll place this whole line on top and tape the middle sections as well. There we go. Now if you had clear tape, it would be much easier because you could tape along the whole thing without cutting off any of the words or anything like that. But you'll definitely still get the idea. So now you need to pick your size. I'm going to make an extra small. So I'm going to find those dotted lines and cut out all the pieces. I'm just going to add some extra tape for like these sections here. Amazing, we are all done and your pattern is ready to make. So now it's time to cut out our top. I'm going to make this one out of leopard print fabric. I might start with this smaller piece just because I want to use up the leftovers that I have. Now, we do have a grain line arrow here. So that means you need to find the grain line of the fabric, either horizontal or vertical, and you need to place it correctly, lining up with that. But with stretch fabric, you can often use it on either. So You could do vertical or horizontal. So I found it really doesn't matter which one, but what does matter is that you're not using the bias diagonally. So what happens when you cut a piece diagonally is you might not notice much at first, but when you are sewing it and also when you're wearing it, it might have the tendency to twist on the body or as you're putting it through your sewing machine. So yeah, using this grain line arrow, just think of it as like a cross, and you just want to pick whether to cut it out this way or cut it out this way. It often depends on how much stretch the fabric has. See, for example, I prefer the stretch this way, like around the body. So for that reason, I'm going to cut it that way. So I'm going to start with the sleeve. So there's a line here that says cut here for short sleeve. Now, rather than cutting, I prefer to fold. That way the pattern piece is reusable. So next time if you want to make long sleeve, you don't have to print out more pages. So I just do that. Now I did fold over the part, but it does say cut on fold here, which means we're going to fold the fabric over. We're going to line up this edge, the one that said cut on fold, with the fold. We're going to weigh it down. The pattern weights near me were so expensive that I just went to the hardware store and bought heavy bolts. They were like $1 each or less. So now that that's cut on the fold, I'm going to cut that out right next to the pattern piece. There we go. I'm going to do the second one. There we go. Those are our sleeves. Now I'm going to do the back piece. So you see up the top it says cut on fold. So I'm going to follow the same rule I had before, in that I want this way to be my horizontal. That's how the sleeves were cut out. So I'm going to take this piece, fold it down, place this one on top. Now this piece of fabric's not big enough, so I'm just going to go for the next one. Now I'll cut out the front piece. We also have the tie. Now the last thing we need to cut out is, for some of the patterns you'll see that you need a lining piece. So it will tell you, it's actually not written on here, but I'm glad I picked that up because I'm going to add it onto the pattern and make sure that it's written on, that we cut one piece of our actual fabric, and we also need one of the lining, but the lining piece doesn't need to be the whole thing. The lining piece is just one piece, like we don't need to cut on fold. But if that's the case, it will be written on your pattern. Amazing. Now you're good to go.